Hello, welcome to today's card, which Claire from Stampin Squirrels, sorry I'll get her name right, is going to do for you, which is featuring one of our lovely new ink colours, Evening Evergreen, in quite a simple but I think quite pretty effect card. Now it is the sort of card that you could do with other colours, but I'm just showing you this technique and how I've pulled it all together today just using the Evening Evergreen and the Quiet Meadow dies and the Quiet Meadow die cuts in order to give the whole effect. So let me first of all show you the stamp set. Now this is the Quiet Meadow stamp set, and as you can see we've got some really lovely flower sets, some nice phrases and what you might call a few oddments. So you've got some dots in it, you've got some typed words, and also those very tiny little flowers which you can see up in the top corners. It also has a really nice set of matching dies which have more flowers than you would see. So as you can see looking at here, you've got lots of different flower dies, you've got some really long elegant flowers, and you've also got some nice labels and a couple of very beautiful little butterflies which I think are really cute. And then this is the little these are the dies I've used today. So that's the leaf one, and this is the little label one that I've used on the front of the card. So a really nice set, and it is a bundle set in the annual catalogue. So lots of opportunity for you to purchase this if you think you could use it, and I think it's a really good go-to. So for the start, I'm using a basic white card base, just a standard size, folded in half. I've then got, and I've decided to use the Evening Evergreen, just because I wanted quite a contrast colour with the white base and the white top of the card that I'm going to have. And I also wanted a colour which the effect and the sponging that I'm going to do would show up really clearly. So here's my Evening Evergreen card. It's just slightly smaller than the base, but only just. Now, this is my second piece of basic white. And this is, I've embossed this, and you'll see it just fits slightly smaller. So you can see, if you like, you've got a frame of the Evening Evergreen all the way around the white card to give it a sort of frame effect, but it's very small, subtle in that sense. The other thing is I have embossed this in order to give it a texture. So there are lots of embossing folders that Stampin' Up have at the moment. I've used a recently retired one called Linen Effect, partly because I really like it and it gives a nice feel to the surface. And the sponging that we do will actually bring out the effect more than we would do if we just use a plain card. So actually you can't see it so well on this. So using the ink pad, now what I've done is I've given my ink pad a bit of a squeeze when the lid was still shut, and that puts a little bit of ink into the lid or the other part of the unit. I've just got a basic piece of sponge here. I'm going to pick up some of the ink from using the sponge from the lid, and I'm just going to do it all in sort of circular movements. So you can see that the ink's there, and I'm just going to dab it very gently just to pick the ink up as we go. And then I'm going to start with a circular motion on the card. So I'm almost getting my circular motion going because I want the ink to travel round, let's get that bit soft, travel round the card quite easily. So here we go. I'm just going to sponge it very lightly to start with, because obviously with any sponging, it's much easier to add ink than it is to take ink away. So what I want to make sure is that the area I've covered, and there we are, this is sort of finishing with this, I'll pick up a little bit more. So you can see you're not wasting any ink. You just need to make sure you can make sure that the centre is a darker colour, or you could start in a different place. And this time I'm going around in the other direction. Because of the embossing, it makes sure that I've got both parts of the card covered, and you really probably are seeing the texture come through from the embossing folder quite nicely now with this dark green ink. As I say, it could work with all sorts of different colours. So it could be one where you've got a little bit of ink you want left over, or a little bit of card you want left over as a base, and you can use this as a technique. And I'm just going to measure now. So that's the embossed piece of the leaves that I've got that I want to put on. I just want to make sure that the whole of the leaves are going to be covered. So I'm just going to add a little bit more to make sure it is enough coverage for the whole of the leaf shape to be showing up against the background. So there we go, just finishing that off. And then I just might make sure it's nice and even. Yeah, and I've got very inky hands, so I just need to, the dark green is lovely, but it does tend to go everywhere, and I'd rather it didn't go everywhere I need it not to be. So there we go, just having a little measure, just have a look, make sure that that shape can fit nicely on there. Okay, so I think that's fine with my sponging. And then, as you can see, the other thing I've used in the Quiet Meadow is these dots. Now, there are lots of different ways of making dots. You can stamp them if you have a stamp set that uses dots, or alternatively, you can, if you like, flick them from a water painter or something else, small brush. I'm just going to stamp those up to get a slightly lighter, because the green ink is very definite. And because these dots are very random, you can overthink them. So I'm just going to, again, stamp them off and then put them in. I'm just going to a slightly different way. There we go. And that's all I'm going to do. So it's just a bit of an additional texture, an additional interest in amongst everything else. So I've put them in the spaces where they're going to be seen outside of where the fern shape is going to be. Now, let's look at how this all fits together. Pick that fern up. And I'm just going to use the fine tip glue. And I'm just going to pop some glue on the back of the sort of leaf shapes. I'm just going to damp off some of that extra glue, because I don't really want the extra glue smudging out all over the sponged ink. There we go. Now let's just put that, and as always, I'm doing it at an angle, so actually there isn't, if you do things very straight, it's obvious when it isn't straight. Just going to use this spare piece of grid paper just to damp down and make sure that it heads, it sticks really firmly to the base. Nothing worse than it coming off. And then when you're partway through, there we go. Just finish that off there. Make sure that's stuck on there, it's good. Now, as you can see, that's stuck on nicely, and you've still got the effect, and it does really obviously bring out the white. And I'm just going to put this now on the back. So I've just got some basic glue to stick around the sides, and I'm going to pop it onto the Evening Evergreen. I'm sorry, I have real trouble remembering. I want to call it Evergreen something, but it's not. It's Evening Evergreen. Let's just put that on and make sure that's nice and straight. And I've got roughly the amount of edges all the way around. There we go. That's good. Now, the next bits I had were about how you can add additional decoration to the card. So in this instance, what I've done is I've punched out, die cut out the little label, and in the stamp set you have the little word love, and it's where it fits onto that label. But obviously if you haven't got the stamp set but you do have the dies, you can still punch it out and you could write your own words on it. It could be whatever special message you want for yourself. Now I'm using the linen thread, and I'm just going to put some, I'm just going to work out roughly where I need it to go, and then I'm going to put some glue onto the back in order to capture the linen thread at the beginning, and that'll be the other side where it comes around as it gets wound round. I tend to go for sort of 3 times round, only because I feel a 3 is quite good. I quite like an odd number. It doesn't always have to be an even number. So there we go, pop it on the back. Now I'm going to whiz it round, just putting them in. There we go. And I know roughly where it's going to go. Now before I finish it off, I was just checking that there was plenty of linen thread. Stick those linen threads down firmly on the back so you're left with the final overlap. I'm just going to thread on, because the dies automatically cut the hole, so you haven't got to fiddle with all of that. So I'm going to just put that on there and make sure that goes on. I can fiddle about with this in a minute. Stick down the back of that's it, the linen thread, and then I can just alter the positioning of the linen thread to make sure they're spaced in a way I want them to. I've got a little bit excess there, so I'm just going to snip that off. There we go. And now shake it about. You can make sure you can position it, as I say. You can also make sure that your the tickety label, the extra message is the right way around. And then I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the corners. I just think sometimes you just want to give it a bit of a lift. So let's just peel those off quickly. There we go. Oh, come off. That's lovely. Take the card base, make sure the card as always is the right way around, and then just pop it onto the card base. Oops, there we go, almost straight. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Push that down. Okay. And always I like a little bit of a jewel, so I've got some of the champagne rhinestones, which I'm just going to pop on again. I've gone for a 3, just because I think it works quite nicely. It fits quite well. Here we go. There we go. I'm going to put that last one. Let's put that in there. Yeah. So there we go. There's my 3. And that is my card complete. So quite a straightforward and simple card. I hope you enjoy making it and look forward to seeing your results of how you've got on doing it at some point in the future. Thank you very much.